From Rule 62 Studios in Bossier City, Louisiana, this is the Grouch and the Brainstorm. Bonus episode. This is going to be a bonus episode. And welcome back to the Grouch and the Brainstorm. I am Mike, joined today by Jill.
Hey, guys.
And Matt.
Hello.
And we have a couple guests today. So you want to introduce yourself? Go ahead.
I'm Nancy.
Hello, Nancy.
Hi.
And I'm Hodge.
And Hodge. And today, Hodge is going to tell us his story. So,
All right.
No pressure.
no, we love doing bonus episodes, and every once in a while, especially when we get to dip outside of our norm, which is usually the 5:30 group at the Koala Club, or somebody from the Koala Club, and get to dip outside the norm so people can realize there is more AA out there than what we see in every day. I sat in the same chair for 7.5 years when I got to the Koala Club, and then I went to New Orleans and thought, they're doing it wrong. It's never going to be the same, and fell in love with the group down there, and never realized what was outside of my norm. So welcome, Hodge. Look forward to hearing your story. Matt here is our resident story narrator, so he pretty much keeps up in his head with what's going on, so he can keep a timeline and keep you on track. So,
wonderful.
Yeah,
That's scary.
yeah,
Right there.
that
I'm
is
in
scary.
charge of anything.
Everything Mississippi has to offer is right here in
Right
Mobile.
here. It's a great state.
So, hit it, Matt.
Well, I mean, I'm going to let you guys roll with it. Just kind of get started, and we'll jump in and interrupt you and ask you all kind of stuff. So make fun of you, all that good stuff.
Remind you of things we know.
I need that. That's for sure. Where do people normally start at? Just
At the beginning.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Oh.
I got you, Jill.
I start in the middle.
Do you?
Yeah, I always start right in the middle. The day I got sober, and then I walk out a little bit, and then I go all the way to the beginning and go through. So however you choose to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
The day I got sober, I can start there. That's fine.
Okay.
It wasn't a special day. It was a day where basically I woke up and took a look around. I was living in Mom's garage apartment, where every 42-year-old should be living. I guess I was 43 then. And, the disassembled motorcycle was sitting right there. And along with every single part of probably every lawnmower I had found on the side of the road. And, that all ready to be rebuilt. And I thought I could get everything running again. And took a look around and was like, man, I cannot live like this anymore. This is horrible. Basically just had enough, had come up with every single plan, every idea that I could think of to stop living that way. And none of them worked. Absolutely all of them failed. And I just said, hey, God, I need some help here. I don't know what else to do. And he literally gave me the courage to pick up the phone and call who's passed away now, Gary, who ran the Bridge House at the time, which is a halfway house for men on Stoner Avenue in Shreveport. And I called Gary and I said, Gary, I've got to stop this. This is ridiculous. And he said, well, all right. Come see me on Tuesday. And I said, okay, I'll see you on Tuesday. And he said, well, what do you want to do here? Do you just need a place to live, or do you want to get sober? And I said, man, I want to get sober. And he said, okay, see you on Tuesday. And Tuesday came, which was 2 days later, walked into the Bridge with a trash bag full of clothes, because everything else I had, I just didn't need. I wanted to take the motorcycle with me, but it just didn't run.
Trash bag seems to be the luggage of choice for most of us,
Well, it was easy.
I went Walmart bag.
It lasts
I was
forever.
a Walmart bag guy. Yeah.
The durable construction type,
Easy to
Oh,
stow.
you're fancy. You're the construction.
Oh, yeah.
one. Yeah.
Drawstring. Drawstring.
No drawstring.
Oh,
No.
zip
It
tie.
was, no, you just had to, knot it up and just roll with it. And thank goodness my mom was willing to take me there, because I didn't have a vehicle. I had lost all that. And that's where I started my sobriety. And I've been sober now, coming up on 7 years on January the 8th. And let me tell you, sobriety I just love this way of life. There is no better show in the world than Alcoholics Anonymous that I've
There's
found.
not.
The people, the stories, I keep coming back. And for that, I love the fellowship. I had no one in my life at that point. I had nobody that I got high with wanted to get high with me anymore. All I brought was chaos.
Yeah.
And the cops, because when you're sneaking around in other people's backyards because you can't find the dog that you didn't bring with you in the first place, and their motion sensor lights are coming on and they're calling cops, and your people you're getting high with, they don't want that. They don't want that in their life.
They don't need the attention.
Yeah,
I sure wouldn't want it the attention.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. By the way, I never found that dog.
Was there even a dog?
Was there a dog?
There was a dog back at the garage apartment where where I was at, but not that time. So what got me there? Basically my whole family's, alcoholics. My parents were alcoholics, are alcoholics, in recovery now. My dad's been sober 30 plus years. My mother, before she passed away, had been sober. She'd been sober 17, had a small relapse in there. The mailman ran over the dog, and, she was like, I got to go to the liquor store. And there was no one there to, say maybe that's not a good idea. But, before that, she'd had 15 years. So there was a lot of sobriety in her. And
So total, your mom had 32 years.
something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
She'd been sober a while, that's for sure. Let's see, where was I?
What got you there?
What got me there? So started drinking, seems to be, from the stories I've heard, pretty much the norm is about 14 to 15, and that's when I started, even though I saw what alcoholism had done to my mother because she'd been in 7 rehabs, and, I lived with my grandmother for a while. I still decided that road was I didn't see any harm in a little bit of night train on Friday nights, which is was my first alcohol I ever drank.
I don't even know what that is.
It's horrible.
Well, let me see. It ranks right up there with Thunderbird.
Yeah.
Classy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And smoked marijuana my first time out here at Dad's farm. To be honest with you, not here, not where we're at right now, but right down the road at Dad's
Out
farm.
here at Jill's compound.
And,
That's what we're doing out here.
right. And that's just where it started. High school, and doing it on the weekends, and then college came along, and my first AA meeting I ever went to in my life was the very first time I actually did cocaine. And that is,
Wait, what?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, most people forget their first meeting.
No. I remember mine because I ran out after about 5 minutes. I couldn't handle it, So we did. So anyway, I won't go into that war story, but yeah, that was the first meeting I ever went to, and didn't last very long. But the cocaine use did, that seemed to keep coming back, and along with pretty much everything. I didn't really like the speedy drugs. I like my alcohol. I like my marijuana. And then I was introduced to opiates, and I really, really, really liked those. And so I always gauge kind of my life with my jobs I had at the time. So in my late 20s, I got so one night I was drinking and won some tickets on the radio. The next morning, couldn't remember what radio station I won them from. Went to one. They were like, "We don't know who you are. You didn't win any tickets here." Went to 98 Rocks. Walked in the door, and the receptionist was like, literally, swear to God, this had happened. She's like, "Oh, you must be here for the DJ job." And I'm like, absolutely. She's like, all right, have a seat. And so, I
got my weed and Thunderbird
That's
right here, ready to go.
And so that was, where it really my drugs and alcohol took off with that job right there. It was being a overnight disc jockey. For
So you
98
got the
Rocks.
job.
I did. I actually got the job.
That's legendary.
And got the job and became the overnight DJ for 98 Rocks. And this is before the computers. I mean, like we had the turntables and the
Vinyl disc.
tracks and I mean, it was a good time.
What years was this?
It was just, golly, had to have been in my 20s. So late 20s.
So about probably what, mid-90s?
Yeah.
Late mid-90s?
Yeah. Late 90s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was a free-for-all. I mean, at 2:00 when the bars shut down, I mean, the phone just lit up and, it was like, yeah, I'm up here right now if you want to come hang out. So, and then that went on for a little while and then I started working with another gentleman who did a morning show and then that introduced me into the film industry.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, doing drugs and alcohol is pretty much a prerequisite to be in that industry. So, man, I just boomed there. I mean, I love that stuff. I mean, all I did was wake up, go to work, come home, go to sleep, and there was no free time because when you're doing a movie, it's 18 hours a day, but the drugs and alcohol to keep you going during that was there always. I mean, it was there. And so why would you want to, if you're an alcoholic addict and your job has drugs and alcohol why would you want to leave?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they had me. I was in. So I did that for almost 10 years and until my drugs and alcohol got so bad that they were like, man, we can't use you anymore. We can't do it.
And was that all here in town?
It was not. So I did a lot of movies here in town. Did a movie in Lafayette, Baton Rouge, all over the state. Let's see, I did Los Angeles for about 4 years. I did Nashville, Tennessee. I lived in Austin, Texas. I mean, I went all over and had an absolute blast doing it. Met a lot of great people and had a lot of good times, a lot of good stories. And then when I got fired from the TV show I was working on at the time, it really always identified with the job or the movie I was on. I would come back home here, and the first question is, "Man, what movie have you been working on?" It's like, I've been working on Nashville and blah blah blah, Bridesmaids. Yeah, I've been doing that, and so. That's how I always identified myself as, the movie guy. And when I wasn't the movie guy anymore, I didn't know who I was. I was lost. And so this guy I knew was like, well, man, have some methamphetamines.
What better
Here's the solution right here.
help you find yourself?
I had tried methamphetamines before, but, it was like, I never really liked it. It kept me up for too long. But at that point, I was so far down, like I didn't know who I was, didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Because I felt good again. I've had energy. I wasn't depressed anymore, and so that was the worst thing that could have ever happened, because I actually had a house and I had a car and I had friends and I had family and I, had all these things and yeah, I ended up losing all that. It started off kind of like my alcohol use did in high school, which was it was every weekend, just kind of, I need something just to keep going, just to have a good time, just to get me out of bed.
Yeah.
And then it turned into an everyday thing. And I was doing construction at the time, and so one of the guys I was working with was like, he was the guy who had it. And come over and hang out with me. And, you don't have to pay for anything. You can just come, I was just such a joy to be around at that time, that I just got it for free.
Wow.
And, right? Everybody wants to be around me because I had great stories. And I don't know if all that's true, but anyway, I knew the guy that had it. And so didn't have to pay for it and got high all the time. And we did construction. And then the way I was using it wasn't quite good enough. I was smoking it and did what is it? Oh, crap.
Freebase?
No, well, is that the hot rail? The hot rails. I did hot rails.
Man, I'm just talking off my head. I don't know anything about
I'm
that.
not. Sorry, I've been sober a little while.
Help us
I
out here,
forget the
Jill.
lingo.
Hot rails. What? What are you talking about? Freebasing?
I guess. I don't know. It's
I just
where
guessed.
think it's
I
the
guessed
same
that,
thing,
by the way.
but-
Is it?
Uh,
Anyway, they
don't
heat
know.
up this metal tube and then you snort it and it I don't know what it does as it goes up your nose, but
Oh, okay.
So anyway, yeah, hot rail. You don't know?
I mean, I'm just hush.
I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing. But sounds like
Wow,
you might.
Jill, thanks. Here I am thinking you know everything about drugs. And,
She's a resident expert.
right. I'm like, wow. So that particular way of doing it wasn't doing it for me anymore. And so, of course, met a girl, and she was like, have you ever tried, shooting it up? And I'm like, I have not, but I will try it because I will try anything. I am not afraid. And I'm thinking the whole time as this evening is going on is I've done everything. And I've pretty much done it every way. And she's like, you might not want to, because it has a tendency to, mess with people. And I'm like, man, I've done, I'm 40. Come on. I've done it all. You can't, there's nothing that can surprise me. I was wrong. That was a mistake. That was a bad idea. If I could go back right now, it'd be like, Hodge, do not do this. This is bad. But it didn't. I didn't, and tried it that way, and it really changed me.
Game changer.
It changed. It was. I can't describe it to you, but that was it. I was like, this is the only way we're doing it from now on, and so I did that for about a year, and. I stopped paying the mortgage on the house, and I stopped paying the car note, and because I needed that money. I needed it, and stopped paying for everything except for that, and yeah, and so when you stop paying for stuff, that stuff goes away.
Yeah.
And hence why I had the trash bag of clothes. That's all I had, but golly, not only did the stuff go away, but my mind, how I thought, when you smoke it, I was still somewhat there, but when you do it that way, man, you can throw all that out the window. I was gone.
Travels fast. Huh?
Ooh, it was like my life was an airplane, and I just pushed the stick forward and aimed it straight at the ground. And everything was just leaving left and right, material things, but I was leaving left and right. My thought process was gone. My best example that I have of that is I was leaving a girl's place, and I had a vehicle at the time. It was this tiny little red truck, and had a little, had a toolbox in the back of it. And for some reason, she decided it'd be a good idea to open it up and then slam it. And, why'd you do that? And I'm really high, I'm like, why'd you do that? She's like, I was just looking in it. It's no big deal. And so I'm leaving, and my mind went to, she put a little person in there.
Yeah. That's where mine always goes there.
I mean,
This is my
she
favorite story.
just put a small person in my toolbox. I know she did. How am I going to get this small person out? And stopping, opening it up, and letting them out was not an option. I was too afraid to do that because I didn't want to see the small person in my toolbox.
Yeah. Might jump out at you.
Man, I couldn't handle it. And so I'm racing around the city streets of Shreveport, and I'm like, I'm going to give this guy a ride for his money. And so I'm whipping around corners and I'm doing sharp left, sharp right. Like, this guy's got to be banging around in there. That's what's going on in my head. And I'm like, how am I going to get this guy out of here? And I'm like, I guess I could go to the Shreveport Police Department.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Great idea.
Great idea. Right. So thank goodness I had a moment of clarity and realized that was not a good idea.
They might have charged you with kidnapping.
Right. Who knows? Who knows what could happen when and no, that's probably not a good idea. Well, the state police are over there right off 20, over in Bossier.
Troop Chief.
Yeah. I could go there.
Protect and serve.
Those guys, I know somebody there. Another moment of clarity. Whew, thank goodness. Don't go there. That could be bad. Well, who can help me? Who can save me with this problem? Thank goodness. I know who can do it. The United States Air Force. So I drove up to the gates of Barksdale Air Force Base, and I stopped right before I passed the guard check. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Because you don't really want to drive onto their base, You want to stop before you get there. And so I said, guys, I need help. There is a person in my toolbox. Can you help get them out? And the airman said, sir, I'm going to need for you to sit right here on this curb. And some Humvees pulled up with some men with guns. And, and so this really nice sergeant sat me down, listened to my whole story about how I thought this girl had put this small human being in my toolbox. And he did the right thing. He called the Bossier Police Department, and they took me to LSU. And right, exactly right. I was, and so I stayed in there for the night, and they helped me out. I mean, the next day I was in this room with all these doctors, and they said, "Do you still think someone's in your toolbox?" And I said, "No, that was obviously drug-induced psychosis."
Did they ever check the toolbox?
No. Oh yeah, they checked the whole trunk. Let me tell you, they checked the whole thing, and thank goodness I didn't have anything in there, which was another, God thing for real. Because if I had, I guarantee you, I would probably not be sitting here. But those are the kind of things that I won't say sane person, but any type of person with any sense would go, red flag. Hey, what you're doing, how you're living right now, it's not good. You need to change. You need to do something. Well, of course it did. I did not change. And 2 weeks later, I was calling the paramedics because my refrigerator had a gun and it was trying to kill me, which most refrigerators, if you don't watch them, they will do that. They will somehow get a firearm.
That's why they're always running.
And chase you, that's right. And chase you around. And so they took me back to LSU. And again, another red flag, but nope, didn't stop my use. And there were so many more instances just like that. I mean, people in the bushes, and I was always the nice guy. I thought I was the nice guy because those guys. My thought was they got to be hot. Let me bring you some water. Y'all just leave me alone. And and so I would bring them water. I would talk to the tree and say, I know you guys are hot in there. Here's some water for you guys. And I always thought cameras were on me. That's probably why I really didn't. I mean, that was pretty bad, the stuff I just told you. But, I really didn't fly off the hinges like I probably could have because I really thought always cameras were on me. And I justified it. Well, you worked in the film industry. They're making a reality TV show about you, and so, there was justification in my mind of why they would want to
What's that movie with Jim Carrey where the camera's following?
That's right.
Truman Show.
Truman,
Show.
yeah. That's what it made me think of that.
So that's exactly what, I thought was happening. They just weren't telling me. And they were real good at hiding that stuff because every time I get close to one, poof, it would magically disappear. Well, so that brings us to the point that I first started with where, I was tired of living that way. I mean, it was really bad. And so I asked God for help, and he did, and put me in the bridge house, and I stayed in the bridge house. I was there for a good 3 weeks or maybe a month, and I was still... Just because you stop using drugs and alcohol doesn't mean you change how you live or how you act, or as you very well know, I'm sure. And so I was still acting like the addict alcoholic that I always had acted like, And Gary, who ran the bridge house at the time, sat me down one night and he said, Hodge, you're doing this and this and this, and you're saying all this stuff, and you're acting like you're still an addict alcoholic. He goes, nothing's going to change until you decide to change. And I thought, I have no idea what the hell you're telling me right now. Yeah. But I went upstairs, and it was a Wednesday night, and I sat there and I thought about that, and I prayed about it for the first time, and the next morning something had changed. It was just a small little bit of change, to where I was like, all right, what can I do to change who I am today? So I started, small things, making my bed, picking up trash, not throwing my cigarette butts on the ground at the time, and small little things. And those small little things changed into bigger things, changed into how I talked and how I greeted people and how I said thank you and how I said sorry and, how I did things. And so I was in the bridge for about 4 months, and then I moved into an Oxford house, and that was an experience. I was there for 10 months in an Oxford house, and it was great. It was like, it's like being in college, you're living in the fraternity house, but everybody's sober, and there's still all this crazy stuff going on. And, but everybody's kind of moving in this one general direction. And in Oxford, I learned how to do a lot of things that I had, not that I had not done before, but that I wasn't comfortable doing sober. Like living with a guy and being his friend and him relapse and then have to go to him and say, hey, man, we think you're using. You have got to leave. Yeah. And that is uncomfortable. Yeah. It's uncomfortable telling somebody, man, you can't be here if you're using. But I learned how to do that. Matter of fact, the first time was hard. The second time was a little easier. The third time I had no problem. The fourth time it was so easy. It was just like, dude, you got to go. I don't even have to explain it. I'm just telling you. And so I learned how to do those things. Wash clothes, keep a clean house, be in charge for once, which I really didn't enjoy, but it was necessary because eventually I became the one with the most sobriety living there. People would come and sit on the foot of my bed, and I say people, men would come in who were living in the house, not just random people off the street, but
or little people.
Yeah, or right, little people. There was no one living under my bed, but asking me for advice about their life and how to live it. And I'm like, guys, I don't even know how to live my own.
That's weird, isn't it?
It is weird. Oh my gosh, because I feel like, and still sometimes today when people ask me stuff, what do you think about this? And I'm like, meh, I don't know if I do that or not, and they either do it or they don't. And I've had to learn to be accepting of that. But I still don't think my advice is any good, most of the time, but I love to give it. You know, you don't even have to ask me for it today. I'll tell you exactly my opinion and what I think about that. You know, like Jill's hair. You know, oh, never mind. That's sorry.
Jill's cutting the death stare at him right now. Y'all can't see that.
If looks could kill.
She's running to hide a little person in your trunk right now.
Right. Jill, no, knowing Jill, she's flattening my tires right now. She goes full like, let's just go. You know,
Scorched earth.
That's right. But so I did that. And I started listening to men in the program that had been doing it longer than I had. You know, men with a lot of sobriety, you know, 16 years of sobriety. You know, well, how did you do that? You know, and they're like, well, I listened to this guy that now has 30 years of sobriety. And I'm like, oh, great. And that's really when things started changing for me, when I started listening to my sponsor and listening to men in the program that I trusted to give me advice. And it wasn't, you know, crazy stuff. That's when my life really started to change, when I started praying every single morning.
Yeah.
Not just, you know, oh, God, I have a flat tire. God, can you send somebody my way, you know, and help me out with this flat tire? Nope. Every morning, calling my sponsor and going to a lot of meetings. My dad, who has, you know, 30 plus years of sobriety, you know, I said, Dad, you know, what's the one thing you can tell me, you know, and what's the advice that you have for living a sober life? He's like, meeting makers make it. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, here we go. And so, you know, I believed him. When he said that, no, you know, he didn't have any reason to lie to me. You know, he wasn't just trying to, you know, fill the coffers of the AA pot with dollars, you know. He was like, that's how I did it. I went to a lot of meetings. I listened to other men that I trusted, and I prayed. And, you know, here we are today, 30 plus years later, still doing it. I'm like, okay, I believe you. You know, when I started believing other men, and listening to them and listening to their suggestions, that's when things started really changing for me in my sobriety. I love this way of life. It is absolutely the best still going. Not all the time. You know, not all the time. Life is still life, but it's how I handle it today that's the difference. You know, my mother passed away since I've been sober, and the first people there around me were from AA.
Yeah,
you know, they're 4 men showed up, you know, and I was just like, wow, it's amazing that these guys are just here. They're not even saying anything, but just their presence being there during this time was, you know, what else can you ask for? Mm-hmm. You know, they cared enough about me to just want to be there. And that just blows me away.
Yeah, it's amazing. I see a lot of times in AA, and just something you don't know exists until you get into the rooms. But we kind of circle the wagons.
Yeah.
You know, especially when it comes to a major tragedy. You know, you know, especially the men, which is all I'm familiar with. I'm sure women do the same, but the men just kind of just like, hey, you know, don't do any thinking right now. We're here. Mm-hmm. You know, and I never even knew that kind of thing. I thought AA was just for not drinking. You know, just for people to sit around bitching about not being able to drink.
That's right.
You know, you got one for drinking and one for their wives and one for all these other little things in life that are frustrating, you know, but I never had any idea that the support that there's there, you know. And
it
blows me away.
It's a chosen family is kind of what I like to think of it as. And, you know, Jill is sitting across from me right now looking at her. I didn't even really know her, but I mean, it's just every single time that I've needed her or needed someone, she has been there and shown up. And it was just kind of coincidental that 2 times in my sobriety where I relapsed and was really going downhill quick, she was right there and stepped in and helped me and was like, In fact, this last time, 3 years ago, when I relapsed and needed a place to go and needed help, she was right there and took her day off of work and took me to rehab and unloaded me. And I mean, she saved my life twice that I know of. I mean, seriously, she has saved my life, and which is why I'm here doing this today for you.
And she slashed 4 of your tires. So let's
Yes.
just put it all out there.
Yes,
Okay?
she did.
That's how Jill rolls.
She hid my keys from me at one point in time, so I couldn't go anywhere, and made sure I got to rehab.
Yep.
So Nancy, what's a little background on you while we're here? Can you tell us a little bit about your stuff?
I think I'm pretty similar to everybody else. Just started out in my teenage years just drinking and didn't really think too much about it. Just thought I was doing the normal teenage thing. And when I was 16, I mean, I have shared this before with Jill and Hodge that I came from a very normal family. Neither one of my parents were. My dad was not an alcoholic. My mom, she's probably going to listen to this, but I don't know if we'd call her an alcoholic, but I think alcohol has definitely played a part in our relationship and in her life. And both sides of my family had a lot of alcoholics and addicts in them. It's something that is definitely prevalent in my family. But when I was 16, my dad passed away suddenly, and I really kind of just treated myself with alcohol and drugs and kind of really found that. And, I did the normal things. Graduated from high school at the top of my class, went to college, did all the things I was supposed to, got married, and through the years, everything just got worse. I continued to drink heavier and heavier, and started to use drugs more on a daily basis, and things just kind of fell apart. I never lost a job, really. My marriage did fall apart, but at that point in time when I was going through my separation with my ex-husband, I decided that maybe I needed to try getting sober. And so I did try that, and it didn't really work at the time. And I tried a couple more times, and then finally, I don't know, something clicked, and I started going back to meetings, and I stayed sober for about 3 years and had a brief relapse. That's where Jill stepped in. She got to witness that. And got sober again, started going to meetings again, and stayed sober for about almost 2 years, and then relapsed and stayed out for about a year. And that was 3 years ago. And I brought myself down to what I definitely hope was my rock bottom, because there was nowhere else to go but to die. And went to treatment finally after all that time. And coming up January 5th, I'll have 3 years.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
So y'all have close sobriety dates.
yes, yes, me and you.
Do we?
Yes. Which actually,
When's yours?
Yeah, January 5th.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah.
Just years apart.
I was here before you.
Okay.
I just don't have all the time together.
Yeah.
So it's a competition.
Yep.
I didn't mean that.
I was a better alcoholic than you.
He likes to say, "Oh, I don't know anything about relapse. You'll have to talk to Nancy about that." So yeah.
Oh,
So
That's low.
I'm working at a treatment center. It's funny you said that about the motorcycle parts and all that stuff, because you can kind of tell the people's drug of choice when they unload their stuff at treatment. So when I open up their bag and there's like a bunch of chargers, all kind of chargers, and they don't have cords on them. They've already ripped that off. And I'm already know. And I'm like, what was your drug of choice?
And
they go,
flashlights.
yeah, and they don't, but they don't have anything to charge. There's no phones. They don't have an ID. They don't have nothing, but they got a whole bag full of chargers. I mean, they could jump like a B-52 off with what they have in there. And they're like, oh, crystal meth. I'm like, yeah, I figured that, So it's like, what are you doing with all these chargers? I just want to ask them, so.
why are they bringing a rehab with them?
I don't know.
They need them. They need them.
I took a guy in the other day, alcoholic, and he gets out and he had a little duffel bag. And I swear to y'all, I told Randy T this the other night. The only two things the man had in his possession in his whole life, an AA big book was in that bag, and a full pint of the cheapest gin you could get. That was it. No underwear, no socks, no deodorant, nothing. And
The necessities.
yeah, that's it. That's all he had.
That's all you need.
So yeah, He graduated this week. He was one of my first people when he got his chip.
How long do you have?
Awesome.
30 days? Is that what it is? Graduation?
Yeah, I used to work at a treatment facility also. You find the strangest thing. People bring in the strangest, like, why would you bring that to treatment with you?
I had a dude brought a framed picture of his mother from like the 70s. He was from New Orleans. And I'm like, bro, they're not going to let you put that. He's like, well, that's my mama. I'm like, well, but this is a treatment center. Like, this is not your house.
You said from
the
the
Holiday
70s?
Inn here.
The picture was from way back in the day. Like, she had like the old style hairdo.
Like
and
an
stuff.
Olin Mills.
And I guess
the old beehive. Like,
And I guess she had passed away years ago, but he's like, that's my mama. And I'm like, I understand, but like, let's keep her in your property where she's safe. Let's not bring her in the treatment center.
Well, I mean, he could have brought her ashes too.
Hey, there's no telling. There's been some weird stuff, but
somebody had. I wanted to, never mind.
I just got to now. If I ever have to go back, I'm not taking that framed picture of my mom with me.
I remember I was surprised because whenever I went to treatment, they took all my perfume and fingernail polish remover away from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the girls had almost killed herself trying to drink fingernail polish remover.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yep. That's a
I was-
classic.
That's.
Yeah, they.
I haven't reached that point yet. Maybe next time.
No, no next time.
And I have met folks that that were drinking isopropyl alcohol.
Yes.
Cause you to go blind.
Yeah.
My
and
friend's
then
grandmother drank that, and she loved it.
vanilla extract. Yeah.
That stuff.
Hand sanitizer.
And that's kind of strange because when I was in the rehab facility the last time, they had hand sanitizer everywhere.
Yeah.
You just, almost like you could go up to the wall and just push it.
Yeah,
put
people
some in your
were-
Coke.
Yeah, they're putting it in their coffee, and I remember them removing all of it when I worked at my first treatment center.
Yeah. Some of the amazing stuff you see. So both of y'all from here?
Not originally. Not originally. I actually grew up in a small town a couple hours south of here.
Where?
Leesville.
Oh, yeah.
Leesville.
I usually don't tell people that's where I'm from. But I went to school at LSU in Baton Rouge and stayed there for about 10 years and then moved here to Shreveport in 2011. But my family lives here. When I went to college, my mom and my younger brother, they decided to move up here because she had a sister here. And so, this is where I ended up. And I like it here.
Air Force? What's something's in Leesville?
Army.
Army.
Fort Polk.
My son was
Yeah.
down there for a while.
Yeah.
Got to
It's
see
not
Leesville.
called that anymore, though, is it?
No, they just changed it to Fort Johnson.
There we go.
Whole backstory on
I
that.
guess
Don't ask.
I guess Polk was too controversial.
It
They had to change it to
really
Johnson.
it was. It was. That's a whole nother podcast, though.
Yeah. Well,
I grew up in Minden, and then,
Yeah.
well, my parents got divorced when I was 2. Dad lived in Shreveport, Mom lived in Minden. So it was every other weekend over here, and
you still have ties to Minden?
sure.
Yeah. I worked over there for a couple of years.
Yeah?
I like that town. Yeah.
I love Minden. It's great. I mean, I do non-emergency medical transportation now. Like I pick people up and take them to dialysis, methadone clinic,
Yeah.
things like that. Important stuff.
Yeah.
The dialysis is important, I feel like.
Methadone. I tell you what, the people get methadone will tell
Well,
you
they
it's
feel
very
like, I'm sure they think it's important.
Yeah, I was on that. I can attest on that one.
They will go.
Yes,
they are
early
guaranteed.
risers.
They exactly right. They don't miss.
No.
So
Very
do y'all have a
important.
home group?
I do. My home group is the women's group Yayas on Thursday nights at Broadmoor Methodist.
I've heard of the Yayas.
Yeah.
No?
Not really. I mean, I guess if I had a home group, it'd be the men's group on Thursday night, the Highland Club, the was it 4227? Yeah.
You're looking at
Which was
Jill
started.
like, you know
I know.
what men's
I'm
group
looking at
is.
Jill. Well, I figured Jill knows most of the men in there, but that's not right. That was mean. That
That's
was.
Wow.
That's an ass whip.
Jill will cut you. I'm just saying, Jill's got a blade on her. A lot of people look at Jill and they go, "She looks so innocent."
Oh.
No, Jill would jack you up.
Yeah.
Okay, I can
Y'all
tell
are
you.
taking that wrong. Jill she knows a lot of people in
Jill does know
Shreveport.
everybody.
Yeah.
He does
Jill
know a
knows
lot of
everybody.
people.
You know.
My mom always listened to this. You were talking about your mom might listen, and she lives in Arkansas. She may be hearing this one, but she always goes, "Hey, could you let Jill talk more?" And I'm like, "Hey, you're my mom, okay? Like I would
You're
like to
supposed
talk."
to like me.
Yeah, and she's like, "No, I just want to hear more of what Jill has to say." So
Yes,
Right.
that's what my mom said last night. She said, "Oh my God, I'm so excited. Where can I listen to it? When is it going to be on?" And I thought to myself, I don't know. If I'm talking about being an alcoholic and an addict, you're probably going to come up. So I don't really
Yeah.
want to listen.
My mom didn't listen to my story.
Yeah. I don't think.
Like she, you know,
On here?
Yeah, your mom's opinion of me might
Yeah.
change after listening.
I don't know if she knows about the reason that they have the gates up and the lights up at Barksdale
Why
now
they
at
have
the
the
entrance.
red and blue flashing
That's
lights.
for
at the-
Hodge.
that's to deter, me from
Hodge
coming
bought
back.
that
over-
on. Yeah.
They literally put those up right after I
Yes.
did.
left his mark on Barksdale Airport.
That's all right.
And
They
the
know
whole-
me there.
Was that the East Gate? Is that the West Gate?
Westgate.
Yeah, that's the West
Yeah.
Gate.
Yeah.
I get the opportunity to drive by it every so often. I see those lights fly. I often wondered what they were. It's
Yeah.
it's a
well,
deterrent.
now you can
It
think
is
of Hodge.
definitely a deterrent. It's a deterrent. I don't go straight anymore. I always turn left or right on Barksdale
Good,
Boulevard now.
good.
So how was Los Angeles being
Wonderful.
out there with, you liked it?
It was great. I mean, I when I first got there, I started working at Universal Pictures on a movie called Couples Retreat, and enjoyed it. I mean, it was like you had the badge and you got to go into the gates of Universal.
Is that in Studio City? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we did the next movie I did was at Sony, and I mean, just I don't know, it was just you get to go onto these,
Sure. That's pretty cool.
I mean, it was very cool, and got to I had a golf cart at Universal, and you get to see the people on the little trolleys doing the tour.
Man, I've
and-
done that tour probably
Have you?
12 times. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there waving at them, going, "Y'all are having a good time."
I still like Whoville, man. I'm like, where they'd have. I'm just a big fan of Universal, and I haven't been since Nintendo Land was being built last time I went. Since they opened it, I haven't been to Universal. But was you sober when you were out in L.A.?
Absolutely not.
Okay. They have a clubhouse out there called. It's not in L.A. It's it's one of them neighboring towns, but it's called the Canyon Club. And it's a lot of speakers come out of the Canyon Club.
Really?
Yeah. And I wish I could remember the name of the town. It's over towards El Segundo, that area. But great speakers come out of there. I mean, you get some of the some big timers, and then some just regular folks like me that come out of that club over there. So if you ever get back to LA, which some people don't like that. I didn't go back to Florida for years after I got
Right.
sober, just for the simple fact that I couldn't stay sober in Florida. But if you ever get back out there, they have really good meetings in the Canyon Club.
I think that is. We went to, where did we go last year?
Gulf Shores.
Gulf Shores, and got to go to a meeting there. It's absolutely fantastic getting to go to meetings that you just, and they're everywhere. I mean, you can't go. I mean, who knew there was a meeting in Spring Hill? I mean, there is, and
Oh, yeah.
Homer. I mean, yes, it's like one a week, but still, just these. But yeah, the one in Gulf Shores was. I mean, it's just fantastic. I mean, the same stories, but I guess just the different atmosphere. Each place has its own
Cast of characters.
ambiance and
Yeah.
cast of
Vibe.
characters.
I went to one in Jackson, Mississippi, back when I was still married. It was on Thanksgiving morning at like 10 o'clock. And I had about 9 or 10 months at the time. And I got the directions, and I get there, and it's an Irish bar. And it's got the Fighting Irish guy painted on the side of this cinder block building. And I'm like, this can't be it.
Like Notre Dame guy?
Yeah. And I'm like, this can't be it. I mean, it didn't have alcohol signs, but like it was a bar. And I'm like, this is wild. And an old lady was getting out of her car, and I'm like, is this an AA meeting? She goes, oh yeah. And we go in, and they had bought that old building, and of course they took all the alcohol stuff, but like where the bar was, it was coffee and donuts and all that stuff. And there was 2 people, and they were both husband and wife, over 30 years of sobriety, and me. And that was the meeting, and it was great. So
It sounds like a great meeting.
yeah, it was awesome. I was like, this is cool.
It's usually the best kind.
That's what I told Jill last night. I said, well, we usually go to the Sunday morning meeting at Margaret Place, the spiritual meeting. And she goes, oh, well, there's going to be 5 of us here, 5 alcoholics. So that's technically a meeting. So,
There you go.
Technically
a meeting.
Yeah, they it's kind of funny you talking about Los Angeles and New Orleans was that for me. I went to high school down there, and getting out of getting out of treatment and all that, it was kind of one of them. I'm going to wait a while before I make an appearance down there. But I've been down there a few times now, and it, everything's okay. But it takes a little adjustment.
Well, there's New Orleans has great meetings, but I mean, when I went down there, I immediately, probably within 2 weeks of moving there, I found a home group, and unlike any home group I've ever met, I stayed there for 3.5, 4 years. That was the meeting I went to, pretty much 7 days a week unless I was out of town, and it was about 10 minutes from my house. And I moved back here and went to the Koala, but when I moved to Fort Worth, a couple months ago, probably 2 months ago, and I was thinking, I'm not going to find a meeting. The things you think about, and there's one 4 minutes from my job every day that meets at noon, and there's another one 6 minutes from my house every day that meets at 6. I mean, just right there by me. And that's just the two I found. I'm sure there's, and went to their central office, asked for a list of meetings, didn't have a really... none of, when you don't know where you're at, it's probably best just to holler at somebody that can hook you up, but that was there's always a meeting somewhere. You can always find a meeting somewhere.
That meeting, that app, the meeting guide.
Yeah, I think that's what meeting.
Yeah. I mean, everywhere I go, I'm always like, well, let's see what meetings are here.
Yeah.
And tells you times and all that. It's great. I mean, it works.
And most of them are very accurate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I don't really tell you age range of the folks that are there. Kind of sometimes I wish I'd have found that one. But the last question I always ask, and I don't know if Matt has any more, but how's life today?
Wonderful. I mean, life is life. What has changed is me, and I am good today. Before I couldn't look myself in the mirror because I didn't like who I was. Today, I am okay with who I am. I am okay with the person I see in the mirror. And if I'm okay in here, then everything out there, good or bad, well, I just accept it for what it is. It is, I tell you what, my life today is different. It is a heck of a lot different. What I found by getting sober and working the steps and getting a sponsor and praying and being a part of Alcoholics Anonymous is I found two things. I found peace and I found purpose. And, it has just grown. I didn't think that I say this a lot in meetings. If I had made a list of everything I wanted, when I first got sober, because I wanted a house and I wanted a car and I wanted the girl and I wanted a good job. All that I have today for the most part. But those things are so insignificant compared to the self-esteem and the just serenity. And just all the things that come with sobriety. I mean, the fellowship, the friendships, as Nancy said, you called it a family. Chosen family. I mean, how great is that? I mean, I get to do this on a Sunday morning. Yeah. That was not what I had in mind last night. Last night I told Nancy, asked me, what are you going to do tomorrow? I said, well, I'm going to go to the gym and then probably go to the meeting and then, I don't know, sit around and watch TV. Well, let's go do a podcast with Jill. And I'm like, well, let's go. That's something I hadn't done before.
I was talking to a guy who's got about 3 years sober the other night, and he's like, man, everything's just settled down since I've been in sobriety. It's almost kind of boring. And I was like, dude, this has been the hammer down. I've done way more crazy stuff sober than I ever did. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like it's no telling what's going to happen every day. And I like it, he's like, I've just kind of settled down. And I'm like, I have moments like that, but for the most part, I can't wait to see what's going to happen next, So
that's it. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. I mean, because the best part is I don't know.
Exactly.
If I'm getting high,
You pretty much know.
I know what I'm going to be doing.
Taking chargers
Hunting,
apart.
I'm driving to the gate. Probably can't drive. Wouldn't be driving. Walking to the gates of Barksdale now.
Hunting for that little fella in the trunk.
He's still not allowed on any military bases
That's true.
anywhere.
That's true.
He's on a list.
I don't know.
So you're the reason that I have to show people my ID every time I go into convention.
Pretty much. Well, no, that's probably because it's you.
Yeah, I mean, Jill, it's an honest program, Jill.
You got your own story.
You can't blame everything on me in my past. You have to own up to some of your own stuff, Jill.
So, Nancy, how's life today?
Life is great. So much has changed for me. It's funny because good old Facebook, the joys of Facebook and social media. But this morning when I got up, it shared some memories with me from 3 years ago. And that was just a couple of months right before I went to treatment and got sober this time. And I was thinking to myself about what that Thanksgiving was like. And it was just miserable. And then I thought back to what Thanksgiving was like just a couple of days ago with my family. And it was just a completely different scene. Just how peaceful it was, the serenity that I have, the relationship that I have with my family members is completely different today. And, in sobriety, I have changed careers late in life and am doing something that I love and just love doing life. I call my sponsor almost every day and am always surrounded by people in the program. And I don't know, I just look forward to getting up every single day now, whereas beforehand it was a struggle to get up. And, because like we were saying, I knew what I was going to be doing. It was just going to be a struggle every single day. And now it's just amazing. And that relationship that I have with God has just, I know no matter what happens, this past couple of weeks, we lost a good friend in the program. And, even as hard as it's been, I know that God has a plan for each and every one of us, and I'm just here for it.
Sure.
Well, we sure thank both of y'all for being here today.
Thank you for letting us do it.
Absolutely.
It's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool having folks come on and talk about their experience. So that concludes another episode of the Grouch and the Brainstorm bonus edition. Appreciate all the listeners. And just as an added note, Rod D has 2 years today.
Oh, yay.
Or he'll be
Congratulations.
celebrating 2 years today. I mean, I don't know if he has 2 years, but they're going to celebrate it today. So,
Okay.
Awesome.
yeah, over at the Koala Club. So if anybody can get over there and say happy birthday to Rod, that'd be great. So we're going to sign off now. So from Bossier City, Louisiana, this has been the Grouch and the Brainstorm.